Yes, I have blankets around me. No, I don't apologize. It is cold. Hey, I'm actually editing this video right now, and I want to let you guys know that I forgot to give a warning when I was filming the original video. I don't talk about this too much, I only mention it for the example, but I do mention rape and assault at this time frame. Just a heads up, I'm just mentioning it as an example of how stories are reported. I do not actually go into depth. I just want to give you that trigger warning. Okay, back to the video. Hey friends, and welcome back to Intro to Media Studies. Like my mug, I am a writer. Anything you say or do may be used in a story or in media analysis. In 1989, Kimberly Crenshaw wrote the well-known essay Demarginalizing the Intersection of Race and Sex, a Black feminist critique of anti-discrimination doctrine, feminist theory, and anti-racist politics. This essay coined the term intersectionality, which describes how a person's experience is influenced by multiple identities, such as a Black woman, a Muslim Italian, or an autistic gay envy. Each of us belongs to different groups, and intersectionality takes all of that into account when looking at your experience, at the source, at the info, at the data. So why is intersectionality so important to media? The real world is diverse, and so are our experiences. It's important to consider how those different identities interact with each other, intersect, especially when it comes to storytelling. If you, the audience, don't take intersectionality into account, then you have a too narrow lens and you run the risk of either getting half the story or completely misinterpreting the text. Sometimes intersectional theory can help you find biases that you may not have realized you had, or help you find biases in the media text itself. That bias can manifest itself in ways like having one or two sources only for the info, favoring one side of the story over another, double standards, or loaded language. Different media outlets use the intersectional framework differently from each other. However, there are certain things that they all deal with, and I will cover the basics in this video. And then in other videos, I will cover how news media and how fiction media use intersectionality. Good questions to ask yourself to see if the media you consume is intersectional include: does the media consider more than one identity, especially in more complex issues? For example, when reporting about the wealth gap, does the media piece include all women, only white women, only straight women, only rich women, poor women? Does this media piece or source rely on stereotypes or any outdated information? Stereotypes never represent groups accurately or fairly. And we as humans are constantly evolving. We are learning new things every day. Does the piece use any emotionally, racially, or politically charged language? And by charged language, I do not mean does it use any words that have anything to do with politics or emotions. I mean, is this source purposefully trying to make you feel scared about a certain group? Is it trying to make you feel anxious, tense about anything? Are there any unchallenged assumptions? What is explicitly stated and what is left vague? For example, when covering a rape or an assault or harassment, does the story focus on the victim? Does it focus on the rapist? Does it focus on sexual history, on clothes? What is explicit and what is vague? If something is explicitly stated, it is very hard to misinterpret. But if something is left vague, then it is very easy to fill that space in with your own biases or with your own guesses. Remember that intersectionality is not just about having more well-rounded stories, it's also about pointing out biases we may not have considered before. A big question to ask is there a lack of diversity? Does this media piece rely on only one point of view, on only people from one group like old white men? Does it consider a wide variety of views? Does this piece have a favorite side? A really good example of this is if a piece is covering the economy, does the media piece favor the CEOs, and talk about how they are getting rich or how they are suffering? Does it talk about everybody involved? Because going back to the first point, complex issues affect everybody differently. And certain issues are going to affect the rich differently than the poor, white people differently than Chinese or black or Mexican people. It's going to affect straight people differently than ace or NB or trans or gay or so on and so forth people. And the last point you should really think about when looking at how intersectional the media is from whose point of view is this story? A general rule is that it's okay to use a certain lens when covering especially more complex stories, such as advanced sciences, systems of oppression, economics, politics, just because these are really big topics and it's really convenient to break them down into like smaller pieces to help you understand the bigger story. However, though, that lens should only be used to present the info in a way that's easier to understand, not to erase certain people or certain information. A really good example of this, and one that I would really love to cover more in depth later on, is the Disney movie Zootopia. It covers the topic of systemic oppression and racism, but is told using anthropomorphic animals and simplifying it so that it's easy for kids to understand without losing any of the nuance for adults. So, to reiterate this point, having a lens is okay. Favoring only one side or only one source is not. The framework of intersectionality always strives to give a more in-depth view of what the story is about. If a particular media is striving to be more inclusive of different points of view, then that is a really good sign that that is a medium to trust. It is a medium that is going to be more thorough with its research and present the information as fairly and as fully as possible. If you're using one medium and one of those stories seems to be very biased, it is okay to keep checking that medium because maybe you just got one bad piece. But if a media is consistently being biased, if this media is consistently either getting things wrong or favoring one side or doing any of the things that I said not to do, then that is a very good sign that that is a medium you should probably avoid. And those are the basics of intersectionality. I'll be covering how intersectionality affects news media and also fiction media in later videos. So I will see you then. Bye, friends.